Hello, and welcome to the second class in our AQS Let's Quilt series. I'm Bonnie Browning, and I'm the instructor for this class, and we have sponsors that let us bring this class to you free of charge. So get all your friends together if they want to learn how to quilt, and have them join us for the class. This time our class is going to be quilting with triangles. You know, there are thousands and thousands of quilt blocks out there that have triangles, and I'm going to teach you several different ways to make half square triangles, quarter square triangles, and flying geese. Once you have those in your arsenal, you can make many, many quilt blocks. Of course, when you do any class, you know one of the first things that we're going to want is a sewing machine. And I will be sewing on the Bernina 770 QE, that's the Quilter's edition. And you're going to find out that it has lots of properties that you're really going to like. I sew on a Bernina myself, and their 1/4-inch foot is very accurate. We'll be using that a lot during the class. So let's take a minute and hear from Bernina and Off the Wall Quilt.
I'm Amanda Murphy, and I'm a quilt and pattern designer. The Bernina Q16 is quilting magic. One of the hallmarks of a great quilting experience is when you lose yourself in your work.
Bernina, made to create.
You know, it's never been proven, but we all know that the floor gets 2 inches farther away every year on your birthday. We can help you out with that. You need a design wall. Check us out at offthewallquilt.com.
So I'm going to start with some of the things that we will use during this class. The 3 favorite rulers that I have are the 6x24, the 12.5-inch square, and the 6.5-inch square. And our sponsor for these tools this time is Off the Wall Quilt, and they call themselves the purveyor of quilting oddities. Well, so in addition to the rulers, I want to show you what they can do. I don't know how many of you have gone to a class and somehow your ruler disappeared. It got dumped in somebody else's materials or in their bag. They can actually print your name right on the ruler. So I had them put Bonnie B on this small one. And then I want to show you one other thing that I've done. And that is, this is a 6.5-inch ruler. And if you learned to be able to cut and trim using a 6-inch ruler, you know you always pick this ruler up with the 6.5-inch edge when you don't need it. So what I did was I took a permanent marker and ran it right down the edge of that ruler. So now I know when I see that burgundy edge on here, and actually my pen was purple, but because this is yellow, that made burgundy. And so it's an easy way to identify that 6.5-inch edge of your ruler. And I did it for the 12.5-inch ruler as well on this edge over here. But they can print anything on these rulers. The 12.5-inch one says, "Let's quilt with Bonnie," and the other one says, "I am AQS." You could put something on there like, "This ruler will explode if you take it from my sewing room." You know, you can have fun with that. Anyway, those are our rulers. They also make, Off the Wall Quilt makes the largest revolving round cutting mat. And you can see that this will handle a 12.5-inch square. If you come out here to the edge and you come clear over here to 12.5, your 12.5-inch square will fit on there for you to be able to square it up. But it also go down to 1 inch. And they make a small one as well. And I just want to show you how this goes together because it's real easy. There's a revolving wheel underneath, and then the big tray, and a hard plastic so that it will, the mat won't bend on you, and the mat goes on top. And so now you're ready to be able to rotate that. And we'll be using that when we do the trimming, okay? Another product from Off the Wall Quilt is Ruler Magic. And one of the things that we always have happen with our rulers is that when you put them on your fabric, they want to slide, don't they? And so Ruler Magic is a liquid that you put on the back. And I will tell you, the instructions say you can use your finger, just put a couple dots and use your finger to spread it, or use a paper towel. I found that the paper towel moves it around and spreads it more evenly. So when you get your Ruler Magic, use the paper towel method. But we'll be using this, and I'll show you how that works when we get ready to trim our pieces as we sew. And so one of the other things that we need for our project is we're going to need thread. And Coats & Clark is our sponsor. And you know, at the end of our class, we will be giving away some wonderful products from our sponsors. And several lucky quilters are going to win this wooden tray of thread or this whole package of 50 spools of thread. And you know, Coats & Clark has thread for all your sewing and crafting needs. And light. I don't know about you, but lighting is very important to me. And the Daylight Company is one of our sponsors, and they will be giving away these 3 lamps. 3 lucky people will be able to win one of those. And so this is their Halo, which is a magnifying lamp, the Slimline, and this is the one that I will have in front of the machine. And you can see how flexible this is, but I can pull it so it can come right down here over my machine for extra light, and it looks just like daylight when you get it down here where you're looking at your foot. Let's take a minute and let's hear from Coats & Clark and the Daylight Company.
Trust the quality of Coats & Clark threads for all your quilting needs. With over 200 years of commitment to quality, selection, and innovation, Coats & Clark is the thread company trusted for generations.
Then another thing that we need to be able to work in our class is we need some cutting supplies. So Fomori Cutlery, who makes all kinds of tools for every stitcher, sewer, crafter that's out there. And their newest product is their tungsten carbide rotary cutting blade. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems like every project I have to change my blade with regular blades. This blade is made of tungsten carbide, which is stronger than any steel that they currently make blades out of. And I myself used one of these blades from June until January. So I used it for 6 full months, and you'll notice that I write on my blade when I put it in there so that I can kind of keep track. And also, you get free sharpening with these blades when you buy them. You just have to send them to Fomori Cutlery. They'll sharpen them and send them back, or if they happen to be at a show, they could do it there. But they like to know how long their blades are lasting. They also make the batting scissors, a regular dressmaker shear, and what we'll use at the sewing machine are their little snips. And this is what we'll use to clip our threads. I'm a real fanatic about clipping my threads as I go. I don't necessarily like having to go back and spend an hour or so trimming off all those little threads, so I try to do it as I go. So having these handy will make it so that you'll have them right there at your machine and can trim as you go. And our final sponsor is Tracy's Tables. I will be sewing on the sewing cabinet from Tracy's Tables. Tracy's Tables makes tables, carts, shelves, all kinds of things for your sewing studio, and they can custom make them to fit your space. So if you're needing something special, you need Tracy's Tables to help you out. We have a big fold-up leaf on the front, and then we have the one over here that folds back to me and then folds down and makes up on the end of the cabinet. It's got 3 drawers, and it also has a pull-out tray, so if you have to keep your pattern or something right here handy. And the movable shelf so that you can move it up and down and store your machine away, and then there's a plate that goes in here and covers it. They will be giving someone a $760 cutting table, and that's a great piece of furniture, and it folds up very neatly, and somebody's going to win that. So let's just take a minute to hear from Fomori Cutlery and Tracy's Tables.
Scissorman here, founder of Fomori Cutlery. Chances are, if you're watching this, you're a needle artist. And needle artists like yourself from around the world have trusted the Fomori brand as their preferred cutting instruments for the past 20 years. To learn more, go to famcut.com.
Tracy's Tables has all of your custom sewing table needs. Visit tracystables.com to see the complete line of unique tables, carts, and shelves. And all of Tracy's Tables are made in the USA.
Okay, so I want to just step back a minute and talk just a little bit about thread. Most of the time when I'm doing piecing and you're using multiple colors like we will be in this particular quilt, I usually use a light tan or a medium tan or a light gray or a medium gray, and that way you won't have, I never hardly ever use white thread, because white thread will jump forward, and so if any of that thread shows, it'll jump right out at you. So those are the colors that we want to choose from. And then there's some other things that we need. We need some marking tools or a marking tool. And so I've given you 3 different options here. This is just a mechanical pencil, and depending on what color your fabric is, sometimes a mechanical pencil will work just fine. Most of the time it'll even work on black because it'll kind of shine. And this is the Sew Line marking pencil that has both black, white, and pink chalk in it. And this is a Frixion pen that will go away when you iron it. And so that's what I'm going to be using, but you can use any of these tools that work for your fabric. And one of the things that you don't want to forget is that you want to make sure that you have a seam ripper. I will show you in my quilt a couple places that I did have to rip my seam out, and sometimes it just happens. It doesn't sew together quite right. So make sure that you have a seam ripper. And the next thing we need is fabric. Now you can see I've already made up one sample in this red, green, and gold color scheme. And so I've used a dark green, a light green, a red, a cream, and a gold. Well, then I thought it would be fun to do the same pattern in a different color scheme. So during the class, I'm going to be making it out of the blue and teal combination. And so I have a dark teal, a light teal. Instead of red, I'm going to be using the dark blue, a printed background, and a lighter gold. And so you're certainly welcome to choose either of these color schemes, or choose your own fabrics. You will have a handout for each of our lessons. And so the handout for this first lesson tells you how much fabric you need of the different colors. It also tells you what you need to cut. And so that will be your lesson for next time. Before you leave, one of the things you need to make sure that you do is go register for the giveaway from our sponsors. You'll see the whole list there, and someone's going to win all those wonderful prizes, but you can't win if you don't enter. So pick your fabric out, cut the pieces according to the instructions, and next lesson we will be sewing half square triangles. So that's it for today, and we'll see you next week, and we'll get that sewing machine busy.